What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-hostess with the mostest, Miss Tori Rodriguez. T-Rod, what's up?
And not only is it the next episode,
oh, yeah.
it's the last episode
It's the
of the
finale.
season.
We saved the best for last.
We did.
Saving my best for last. I don't know where that came from, Lisa, but I felt it. Yes, we have a special guest. You want to tell them who the special guest is?
Yes.
Who's this lovely lady?
So y'all have heard me talk about her over and over and over again. This is my mama, everyone. This is the reason why I teach.
Mama.
This is Lisa Harris.
Yeah.
And yes, we have different last names. It's okay. Don't be mad about it.
Mind your business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love it.
But yeah, this is my mom, and I'm super excited to have her on. I'm excited for everyone to get to hear her story because I know that I've talked a little bit about it, especially in the first episode, about how you kind of inspired me and what I've seen you go through as a teacher and how you've touched so many students. And so I'm excited for everyone to really hear it from your side of things. I will let you guys know she's very modest.
So you going to have to brag on her?
Yes, she very much before we were going into this was like, I just don't feel like I have much to say. And I'm like, girl.
Oh, yeah, stop it. I know. She got the juice. Yep. And can I just tell you, your daughter's special. Folks be writing into the show. They be leaving reviews. They be hitting me up. And whenever I'm speaking for a conference or something, if the conference host or the school listen to the podcast, they like, oh, we love Tori. Is T-Rod going to be there? And I'm like, no. Are y'all going to pay T-Rod? You feel me? She'll be here if you got a check. But really,
so
she's been something special.
That's
it's been
the
a
way
major
I feel
blessing.
about her too, of course.
Yeah. And to think that she felt like, both of y'all modest, because you like, I don't know if I have, whatever. Same with Tori. Tori was like, I'm not even sure if I'm fitting equipped. I was like, yo, you got a heart, you got a spirit, you got an energy, you got a light inside you that the world needs. And she's been a massive blessing. So I want to let you know how amazing and dope your daughter is.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have her. And we're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Before we hop in,
Yep.
and we kind of let Mom tell her story a little
Turn her
bit.
up some.
Jay,
Mama.
first off, before we even let everyone know who we are here at Next Level Teaching.
Oh, yeah. What you looking at? On my shirt?
Your shirt, again, boo. You proud of this?
I wore it last week. But yeah, PBIS Rewards, they have a conference coming up. The PBIS Rewards virtual conference. And most people know about PBIS, but PBIS Rewards is the technology, it's the app,
It's the
the
app
whole
on my
system.
phone right now.
Come on.
My school's been using it. It's
Mom's got it.
awesome.
Yes,
Mom's
yes,
so good. Yep.
yes. And so we're happy to be partnering with them. They've got a conference coming up June 21st and June 22nd, virtually 2 days of networking and keynotes and presentations and lots of fun. And I'm going to be speaking.
So good.
And so I asked them, my friends at PBS Rewards, I was like, if we push it and the people that listen to the podcast, our supporters, can they get like a little discount to the conference? Because those tickets are going quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But if you want 20% off, our code, I believe, is PBIS Schools.
Yep.
Wow.
PBIS Schools is our discount code. You get 20% off. So, that's why I'm wearing the T-shirt. I wanted to shout, out PBIS Rewards. Our curriculum is aligned with SEL and it aligns with PBIS, our Next Level Students curriculum. So to partner with them, we feel really humble. So that's what that's about.
I know.
I'm wearing my T-shirt. Might play basketball, sleep in it, and I'm going to speak in it. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be good.
Also, let's go ahead and let everyone know who we are here at Next Level Teaching.
Yeah, we want you to catch an L, but a good one, right?
Yeah.
You like that? We
Yeah.
want you to laugh, learn, and live your best life.
Living my best life.
Living my best life. That's what we all about. And we've got educators, Lisa, that will listen to our show on the way to work, coming back home.
I listen while I'm doing my walk-in.
Yes. And it feels so refreshing to know that they love the podcast. They're listening to us. They're watching us on YouTube, listening wherever they find their podcasts. It's pretty cool to know that we're tens of thousands of homes in all these different countries. It's pretty awesome. And we're glad you're here
Thank
to
you.
wrap up this season.
I'm glad
So
to
let's
be
talk
here.
about it.
Well, I'm going to say first that I wish every veteran teacher had an opportunity to do this because I'm finishing up year 28.
Wow.
I'm coming to the end of the career.
Wow.
And I've been thinking, did I do enough? And this has been an opportunity for me to think back, y'all. I brought my tissues.
Here
I'm
she
just going to
go.
go ahead and say.
She gonna cry. I almost
just
already
that
cried too,
way.
so.
But I'm going to tell you that every veteran teacher needs to look back and make note of everything that you did because you did so much, even though you didn't think it was enough.
Right.
And this opportunity has really forced me to do that and to realize I have done some good things in my career. So
absolutely.
thank you for that.
The girl got a whole resume right here. I've been working on my resume, and yet this girl over here, y'all, I'm still scrolling on her notes. I'm like, okay.
Right.
It's been a long time.
But honestly, you have done a lot, Mom. So I guess we'll start with where we start with most teachers.
Yeah.
Because I know your story, but I know Jay doesn't, and I know our listeners don't. So why don't you kind of let everyone know how you got into teaching? Where did that start? How did you kind of know that you wanted to become a teacher?
All right. Well, I think there's probably two questions in there is what made you become a teacher?
Right.
And for me, what made you become a Spanish teacher? So,
Oh yeah, we gonna go away.
that's a whole story all in itself. But
right.
I did realize that, I grew up in Metro Atlanta in a time when the Spanish population was very, very small. There was nobody. And we had, 4 television channels, and you had to go click that channel and turn it, And for some reason, early in the mornings on the weekend, I would wake up and I would turn on this television show that I think it was called Latino Atlanta. And it was the only Spanish show on any channel anywhere. I was like 6 years old. So I don't know. I was being drawn to that language that early, and it was just totally weird, that happened.
Wow.
But as far as, every other opportunity in my life was setting me up for becoming a teacher, I didn't do it until I was 30. I guess you could call it a career changer, but I don't really had a career before then to change out of. I was just kind of bouncing around, but it seems like now looking back on that, everything that I did before I became a teacher was teach.
Wow.
And one way or the other, everything I did was either Spanish or teaching.
Wow.
I had a crazy 1-year job working for the Head Start program, and that taught me probably more about understanding kids and who they are and where they come from than anything else in my education.
Wow.
Because you had to do home visits. And we had this one boy, I'll never forget him. Y'all, this has been 30 years ago. His name was David. And,
and that's an important name in our family.
It is. And in preschool, they've got like these little stations. We had like a little kitchen. And it would be clean up, everybody. And David's over there taking the broom, and he's like sweeping stuff off the counters in the kitchen. And we're like, no, David, you take it and you put it this way. Well, you do a home visit, and you walk in, and Mama is up at the top of the stairs sweeping all the toys and everything all down the stairs. I'm like,
well, no wonder.
There it is,
Right.
I went and did a little stint in daycare after that.
Wow.
And then I went into the corporate world and ended up as a corporate trainer. So it seemed like no matter what I was doing, I was teaching.
Yep.
And I was just really fortunate that when this one started to kindergarten, her dad worked 3 jobs to allow me to go back to college, which I had messed up the first time, to try to,
But let's be clear, though. That was God's plan A. And no matter how much we try and mess it up,
oh, yeah.
God still got you where he wanted you.
yeah.
So that was plan A, not plan B. Let's be honest.
That's true. Well, when I first went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
No, you changed your major like 18
18
times.
times. Yeah. My parents had not been to college. They didn't know anything about how to educate me on what to do, and so I got there. Well, actually, I think I told my dad at first I wanted to be a counselor, like a high school counselor. He's like, why you want to do that? They don't make no money. And besides that, I'm a compassionate crier, so that's not really a good job for me. So I ended up, dropping out, not finishing anything. And when I started seeing this connection between education and Spanish, and no matter what I did, I went back to UGA. Couldn't really get a teaching degree with the way it was going. But, just through all these crazy connections with different people, they were like, go to graduate school.
Right.
UGA will pay for it. You can teach at UGA. I was like, what?
Yep.
And still get football tickets?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going.
And I grew up on campus because of that.
She did. She, was with me on campus all along. And I was able to be a TA at UGA and, stuff that I never thought I was going to be able to do. But I couldn't dream that big. I couldn't see see it. You know, I didn't have parents that even knew how to get me to a place like that. So, you know, I didn't know how to get there. So by the time I was 30, I was so lucky that the small town that we lived in happened to need one Spanish teacher, you know, and I went in and interviewed, got that job that day at a little teeny tiny school.
Wow.
you
Which
know.
is now massive, by
It
the
is
way.
huge now,
Wow.
but at the time it was a single A school, maybe a double A
And now
school.
it's like 6A.
in like the
Wow.
way suburbs, you know, and there was like really no Hispanic population there at all or anything. I was just going in to teach Spanish class. Well, come to find out, that's not what I ended up teaching. I mean, I have taught Spanish all these years, but that's not what it was all about.
Yeah.
So, you know, just moving in directions that you didn't expect, opening up to opportunities that you didn't
Did you
expect.
ever travel abroad to do any?
Talk
Wow.
about Lou though, because that's a different thing. Because I was
Yeah.
like, is she going to talk about? So, sorry, I'll let you talk about it, not me, because I could hop right into so
No,
much.
come
Yeah.
on, God, come on.
No,
However, yeah.
I did not travel. Like I said, there was that one television show that
And
I
you just
watched.
gravitated towards it.
And
And then throughout school, learned it, and then went on from there, college
I
and all
went.
that.
We moved from Metro Atlanta school to the exurbs, way,
where
you
she
know,
lived
the
now,
country,
the
out in the
boondocks.
country, and somehow I took Spanish just because everybody was taking Spanish or whatever, and that really wasn't the big deal. Well, we had an exchange student that came from Honduras. They had a little exchange program, and I got to know him really well. We are still friends to this day.
Yep.
We
Right.
visited him in Honduras
Yep.
and everything. But the year after that, the exchange program was looking for another family to host somebody. And I talked my parents into it somehow.
I
I
didn't
don't know
you
how.
did.
No, I did.
Wow.
And so we hosted an exchange student from El Salvador. We're the same age. He and I are just a few weeks apart. He came at a time when there was a civil war going on in El Salvador.
Wow.
And his mother spoke about that much English, and I spoke like that much high school Spanish. But when it was time for him to go, his mother called, and somehow I figured out that she was asking if we would keep him.
Wow.
Because their situation there was boys of his age, they would walk out of the house to go to school or something, and they would never come back because
Wow.
either the army would grab them and keep them, or the guerrillas would take them before then and keep them.
Wow.
And we saw it on the news all the time, these little bitty boys and great big guns and all that stuff. And so I talked my parents into keeping him, basically. He's my brother.
He's my uncle.
And-
his son is 4 years younger than me.
Wow.
And we're both only children. And I call my cousin my brother.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're
We went to
so-
college together for a year.
Wow.
And so that's really kind of what started it for you. And
Yeah.
then you had a college,
Although,
high school boyfriend.
however, I'll just say, Lou and I have never spoken Spanish to each other.
No.
Never.
And then
Never.
you dated someone in high school that was
Yes.
Cuban.
So yeah, how I end up meeting the only person out in the country that we
The
were
woman
leaving.
has gone for because obviously we all know I'm Hispanic, so the woman goes for Hispanic men.
They
obviously.
go for me. I didn't go after them. They go for me. But no, it was like whenever there was this opportunity, it would come to me. It was
Yeah.
just crazy. I wasn't even seeking it out. And so I had all these opportunities to meet people that spoke Spanish and get to know about the language and culture without ever traveling and with no internet.
Wow.
We didn't have internet at the time,
Come
you
on,
know. I
come
couldn't
on,
find
come
things
on.
out that way.
Wow.
So I just got to know these people, and so somehow I realized after the fact that Spanish was the only class that I was really getting all A's in all the time. So I was like, okay, maybe I should go ahead and try
Gotcha.
this.
Now
So,
that gives me more
yeah.
understanding.
My
Now let's-
uncle really helps
Yeah.
explain why.
Right.
So,
So your heart
yeah.
for kids.
Yeah, it has.
Let's talk
It has
about
this
that.
much to do with the language
Yeah.
and that much to do with the people. I really thought, you know, when I started teaching at this little bitty school, I'm going to go in and teach regular Spanish classes. Well, 2 years later, I'm looking at my population change at the school, and I'm like, I've got these kids coming in that are Hispanic. And they just put them in Spanish class because they had to be somewhere, and then they end up being, you know, bored or
Because they know the language
or
already.
a problem or something. And so I go to the principal, I do a little bit of research, and, you know, this is year 2000. And I was like, listen, these kids need something more than this. They don't need to learn colors and numbers and days of the week.
They know that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they need to learn the skill that
Yeah.
they're in the process of losing because they're being Americanized so much that their bilingual skill is being taken away from them. They can't use it for a job because they're not literate in it.
Wow.
So, let's give them an opportunity to learn another skill that they've already got it in them. They just got to, be able to kick it up a notch so that they can use it in jobs later on.
Wow.
So I talked myself into that one.
But it has been the greatest, like that native speakers class. Well, and were we one of the first ones at that school to have it? I know it had already existed in the county, correct? In like one other school?
One other school had a couple, might have had one class, and I ended up writing a curriculum with another teacher because there was no curriculum. We didn't have a textbook or anything like that. And so I was like, what do these kids need? So there was no Spanish for Native Speakers program. And so when I brought these kids into a class, I'm like, well, first off, they're looking at me going, what's the white girl going to teach me? Because this is not her language. So I had to really gain their trust, let them know that I didn't think I knew everything, but I did know a lot of stuff, and that there was more to it than just learning the language. And first few years, we didn't have any textbooks or materials or whatever. I'd just come up with things to do.
Really?
And I noticed one year that none of them bought yearbooks. And I was like, why didn't y'all buy a yearbook? And some of them were like, oh, nobody wants to spend that money. And then most of them were like, we're not in there. It's not my friends that are in there.
Wow.
That's not my stuff that I'm doing.
Representation matters.
So the next year, I started just a little, school newspaper that they wrote in class. They write it in Spanish and in English about the things that they were interested in. And at the end of that year, we made our own little yearbook. And I had a kid post that yearbook a couple of years ago on Facebook saying, look what I found,
Wow.
And it's been all those years later that it had that impact,
Wow.
that was something that they felt like they belonged, for the first time.
Well, and I think also with those kids, and kind of your point to how you had to earn their trust. I think a lot of us as teachers, especially in this climate that we're in right now, kind of feel that as well. I know that there are so many times where I feel that with some of my Black students. How can I want to connect with them. I want to love on them. I want to help them grow in who they are. And I don't want to squash their culture, their personality, who they are. And that's something that you've really taught me how to do, is just to sit and listen, and to let them know that, no, I don't know everything. I don't, but you can teach me. You can teach me those things, and I'm going to love you for them, and I'm going to help support you in that. And I want to take what you have, their language that was, for some of them, it was very broken. That Spanish was so broken for some of them because they learned grammar in that class. I will say I will admit, I am not fluent, for those of you that are wondering. I am not fluent in Spanish. And that's the really funny part, is that, yes, my mother is a Spanish teacher, and she's the white girl in the family, and my dad's the Hispanic one, and she speaks better Spanish than both of us put together. So I was not in the native speakers class, and I will say I had her for one day, and that was the worst idea ever. She was my dance team coach, though, so we kind of made that work. Right. But I saw what you did for these kids, and I saw how, you taught them literature. They learned about art. They learned about different countries. So talk about Lasso a little bit. Talk about some of the relationships that you made. Of course, I want to get to Lisette at some point, because I think that that's a big part. And even people that you still keep up with, like Giovanni and, Charlie and all of them.
I had always been in clubs when I was in school. Like I said, we were way out in the country, and 4-H was our big club. We were all in 4-H. And 4-H taught me leadership skills. It taught me, presentational skills. It took me to the University of Georgia campus. We went there for different events throughout the year. If I hadn't been in 4-H, I would have had no vision of what the University of Georgia was, what college was, what you did there, none of that. And I did a lot of community service work. And I knew that my kids, they weren't involved in any of the clubs at school. And they weren't picking up some of those skills.
Right.
So I looked into some ideas and kind of created, other colleges had things called LASA, or Latin American Student Association. I did LASO, Latin American Student Organization. And I encouraged these kids to join a club for the first time. And
Was there pushback, or were they like, sure, or were they like uneasy?
I feel like, to begin with, no. I think I already had their trust at that point, so they knew I wasn't inviting them into something that wasn't good for them.
That's good.
You know what probably started it?
Can you keep that? Put a pin in that.
Yes.
Because I just felt something, right? To our listeners and our those who are viewing us, it starts with a trust.
Yeah.
They'll do anything once they trust you.
Yeah. Yes.
So I went to 3 schools for 9th grade. My 3rd school, they got me active in track. They got me active in Sigma Phi Psi, which is really, we just studied. It was like, they tricked me into tutoring. I thought it was going to be like frat parties and stuff. Army ROTC.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that they was presented before. I was like, nah. But when they gained my trust, it was like, Jim, I think you should strongly consider. I was like, sure. So I just kind of thought about that in case some other teachers are wondering, how do I get it? It's the trust factor.
Yeah.
And you had already built that.
Yeah.
So now they'll run through a brick wall for you.
Yeah.
All right, finish. I'm sorry.
Now, I think that there was one year that I always did Hispanic Heritage Month, this September 15th to October 15th. I always taught it. We always talked about it. And I feel like one year, a couple of kids were kind of like, how come our school always does something for Black History Month, but nobody ever does anything for Latin American, Hispanic Heritage Month? And I was like, who do you think is supposed to create that? Who do you think is supposed to tell everybody who it is? So we worked together and we created, they do like
awesome.
the dance and the
so
dinner.
good.
They all brought food. And I'm talking whole cafeteria full. I mean, parents. First time you've ever seen these parents in the building.
Wow.
They felt like they were welcome and they belong, And they did their little dance presentations. They had been practicing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, this needs to be a regular. They got to feel like they belong all the time. So I started this club, Lasso. And about this time, things were starting to shift a little bit. I think about 2003.
Yep. Because that was right before I went to high school.
Yeah. There were a couple of things that were happening, like at the University of Georgia. There was an organization at UGA called Clase. And it was just to kind of bring in Hispanic students because the population was so low there. And then I received these things about a program they were having called Padres e Hijos, Parents and Children, to invite Hispanic parents and their children that are that are in college age, to come to the campus, see what it looks like. Do what I did when I was in 4-H. Go to college. Parents, don't be so afraid of it. We're going to take care of your kids, And these are the things they're going to get to see, and this is what they're going to get to do. And I was just reading recently, that went on from 2003 to 2016 is when it stopped. However, our good president has just put some money in it, and so it's coming back this year.
Awesome.
So excited for that. But the numbers, they said they had 200 kids participate in it over the years, and half of them actually went to the University of Georgia.
Wow.
And that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. Gates Millennium Scholarship, I had kids that we were getting that money going in their pockets.
That's
and
amazing.
They didn't know how to apply for scholarships. Nobody's helping them, So we're getting kids signing up for the Gates Millennium Scholarship, and people like A.D. Samaniego getting a full ride scholarship from Bill Gates.
Girl works for Google now.
I'm talking.
Wow.
Girl went to Princeton, Harvard, something like that.
Columbia.
I
mean,
something.
yeah.
She just went back to school too.
And I still, because Gates Millennium Scholarship pays for your college as long as you go. As long as you want to go, and all the supplies you need and everything.
I need to pause though and just shout this out. This woman here helped AD with that process. Like, you are not just like a teacher, you are outside of the classroom. So even outside of all the clubs and things like that, like, you were always there in a safe space of like, you can come to my room and talk to me about whatever you want. She gonna cry, I know. And so I know that like you were there helping AD through the process, and a lot of these kids wouldn't have known about Gates Millennium if it weren't for you.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
because
that's next level.
This is the most, like, y'all think I'm next level. No, this woman is the next level. Like, this is it.
Yeah. And I will say that one of the kids, because one of the things that the Class A organization at UGA also had was a student leadership conference for Hispanic students. And I sent kids from LASO to that every year. And I have one that he's now the deputy director of communities and schools for Atlanta Public Schools. Wow. He went on to get his master's degree in just helping these kids. That's all he does is help these kids. I mean, just amazing stuff that it just takes a little bit for them to see what those dreams can be. But you can't dream it if you can't see it.
And they can't see it if you're not there to see that there's a deficit. Okay, you're deficient in some areas. Okay, you're right. There isn't a Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. Okay, there isn't this. You don't even know what's possible. So I'm gonna give you this exposure.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, as educators, we've got to be the ones to say, hey, let me expose you. Let me show you what's possible, and then it's up to them to dream.
Yeah, it is.
So that's amazing.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I just want to point out one other thing real quick that to me was such a big standout was the reason that these kids, going back to that trust a little bit, you were always that room that when I was a kid, I was in middle school and the high school was directly across the street from the middle school. So I would ride with her to school. High school started significantly earlier than middle school, 2 hours. And so I would spend my mornings with her and her students. And before school even started, before the first bell rang in high school, the kids were just hanging out in her room. That was the place. Her native speakers saw that room as a haven, saw that room as a place to be where they could go and hang out. I mean, like, I remember walking in and Giovanni was asleep on the table one time. I was like, bro, that's supposed to be me. I'm not supposed to be awake yet, not you. And so I think that is part of it. Like, teachers wonder, okay, you talk about this trust, how do I even get there, right? Because sometimes we wonder, how do we get to these places? How do we get to be this, I'm not even going to call you Senora H. I'm so sorry. Senora Rod, like, how do we get to be Senora Rod? You just open up your room, you open up your heart, you open up yourself. She's very much an open book. And that is part of what creates that trust, is literally just letting them come in and hang out with you.
Now, that doesn't mean that it was a free space and you could do whatever you want to.
Yes.
Right.
They knew that there were rules, there was discipline. I had expectations. And I'll tell you the truth, at the end of the school year, sometimes I was like, I'm not teaching this class anymore. It's too hard. There's got to be easier things to do.
Right.
I'm not going to do this. And about that time, the seniors would be writing their senior letters.
Mess you up.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And I'll just go ahead and say, if you are new to teaching, get yourself a pretty little folder.
Oh my gosh, did we not just talk about this on the last episode? I just said this, Lisa.
Decorate that folder and make it all beautiful and sparkly.
Girl, I need a whole binder these days. So
Exactly. And put it in a space that every time you get that one good email, even if it's just like the tiniest little bit of a compliment, that one good parent letter, something that your kids did that were awesome, put it in there, because the day is going to come when you're not feeling any of that. You need to be able to take that out and go and look at it. Yeah, or the whole year. And you need to take it out and look at it. And that's why I said, reflecting on my career and saying, what have I done?
Yeah.
Sometimes we need reminders because everything else goes by so fast,
right.
that we really don't think about it. So definitely do that, new teachers. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. And that's funny, because that's one of the questions that we sometimes ask is, what advice would you give a new teacher? But that's it right there.
Yeah.
To protect your heart, to remind yourself constantly why you do what you do, day in and day out. It's obvious you have a really big heart. Right, like you've been, the tissue throughout the interview, but you've been talking, you've been sharing about the connection, right? The connection, not just teaching the class, not just teaching the language, but, you know what I'm saying, connecting with the language of their heart. You know what I'm saying? And I want to just acknowledge that I feel like if more educators had that, and I feel like a lot of them do, but sometimes they get tired.
Yes.
So can you talk to that? Because you're still 28 years later, still doing it, still got the love, still got the cheers, still showing up, but it does get tiresome. Can you just speak to that? I know Tori's going to do rapid fire. I hope you're ready for that and some other stuff.
That's the one I regret. I don't.
No, it's okay.
I can't do that one. That's the one thing.
No, it's okay.
Because I'm an indecisive person. I can't make decisions.
Gee, I wonder where I got it
Tori
from.
would have to decide what my things go on the rapid fire.
Right.
If you're a new teacher, well, I did want you to ask me that one question.
I know. I'm going to get there. Don't worry.
Okay.
Because new teachers need to be loved and supported by the people that are around them, and they don't get enough of that. So we're just telling you ahead of time, things get going really fast. You got to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You got to protect your heart. You got to protect your head.
How do you do that? What is it that you do to protect your heart, your head? Like,
I look back to the successes, no matter how small they are, and they might be teeny tiny little successes. But I look back, and I have to say that social media has now made it so that we've got all those kids that came to me when times were tough, and I can see that they made it out. You know, I think as a teacher, we don't always see the end product.
Right.
We don't get to see if all of our work really paid off or not.
Teach by faith.
So when you see those little bitty
So-
ones, you know, love them, and I'm so appreciative of all the kids I get to see and do great things with. So.
Will you touch on that one student real quick that you made a really big impact on that came to you was that sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, I had plenty of kids, of course, come to me over the years. I got a drug problem, you know, my parents are in a gang. You know, I had a 15-year-old come and say, I'm pregnant, and you're the first person I'm telling, you know. And there were times that because I'm an emotional person, I was like, go see your counselor. That's why I didn't become one. But
that relationship,
I held
that
their
trust.
hand and I walked them to the counselor, to a person that was educated in how to help them, and let them know that I loved them and that I was there for them, even if it was tough.
And encouraged them to come back and finish. And
Yes,
she did.
and she did. Yeah,
She came back
She just
and-
got her paralegal degree. Yeah.
Nice.
And can we just talk about the fact that she knows that? She knows.
Yeah,
she
years
just got
later.
her. This girl's what, a year older than me?
Yes.
She's
Wow.
a year older than me, and mom knows. And y'all, I'm 31. I am 10 years plus out the game. And mom knows exactly where the student is at still.
And I don't know them all. There are those that you're going to love and have touched your heart forever.
Speakers, kids that
They are. There are.
Actually, Bree, because she was also my dance team coach. Let me say that. Bree just suggested that we do a reunion, a dance team reunion here soon.
A reunion would be good. I agree.
Because she was involved in so many different things. Like she seriously, and I know that you got tired, and I know that especially these past couple of years, as we've been getting toward the end of your career here,
Getting old.
she's like, ugh. And I think unplugging for you has been really.
Yeah. Yes.
You still struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah. Got to go out and see the mountains.
Yes.
And breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, and take some time for yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those with the biggest heart oftentimes are so selfless, but it's like that's why we're pushing the self-care. And I had one teacher tell me, Doctor, I forget her name. It was like, she said, don't call it self-care, it's call it temple care.
Oh.
She's like, if you really believe that your body is a temple, like just take care of your temple. And she said some educators will have an easier time because they are so selfless, but to focus on, you know what, let me focus on temple care and make sure I'm in a good place so I can continue to show up, so I can have the bandwidth that you had. It's one thing for you to say, hey, I'm going to teach this language and connect with these kids, but to have the bandwidth to say, I'm going to teach it, and I see some deficiencies, I see some areas you're struggling with, I'm going to help you go there to go above and beyond. And now they in Silicon Valley, they working for Google, they paralegals, like they're having all these different areas of success because of that extra. So at Next Level Teaching, we talk about like that little bit of extra that you give, you know what I'm saying, and continue to show up, and that's exactly what you've been representing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
All right. The last question that I'm going to ask you is one that I know that you're really passionate about. If President Biden and his administration were to come and ask you, all right,
Come see me.
Come see me, she said. What is one thing that you would change in the educational system? What would it be, Mom?
Well, there's two.
Okay. She greedy.
Yeah, mama said you could do 2 or 3. Go
That's
ahead.
right.
She greedy.
How we teach and prepare our teachers and our English learners. English learners are not a new thing to our country. As long as there has been English in the United States, there have been people coming to this country having to learn English. And people don't know how many actually have left over the years because it was just too hard. If you are a middle schooler and you come into the United States and start learning English in middle school, there's only a 50% chance that you're going to exit out of the ESOL program with enough English skills. So we've got to do something. There's no curriculum.
Nope.
There's nothing. I mean, we make it all up on our own as best we can.
That's what she's currently doing right now.
And I've been teaching ESOL for a few years now. I have a new student coming from Thailand in a couple of weeks before the school year even ends. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, we're
Can we
not.
just talk about the fact that she is excited for a new student to come into her class? Because I had a new student just come to my class and I'm like, oh, I got a new one with 19 days left. I mean, okay.
Right.
That's the difference. That's next level.
Next level.
But I don't think it passed, but there was discussion in the Georgia legislature about adding to teacher preparation ESOL for everybody, so that all teachers get some ESOL training. And I don't think it
everybody
passed.
teaches them.
I only see them for 50 minutes out of that school day. All the rest of the teachers have no idea what to do with them.
Right.
So we've got to come up with better materials for our English learners, and we've got to support our new teachers better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a department chair, and I understand, that you earned something as we've been around a while, but veteran teachers are like, no, I want that classroom. It's got a window, and that's where I want to be. You take that new teacher and you put her outside in one of the 32 trailers all by herself, abandoned, all alone. And you think she's going to last more than 5 years? We've got to do more to support our new teachers and to support all of us along the way.
Right.
Because I dare say there's not another job out there.
Say it, Mama.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Say it, Mama.
Well, but what job is out there that you have to pay, in order to get a raise, you have to pay for your own education to get a higher degree to get a raise,
Right.
So I just think that there are other ways that we need to love and support our teachers, and we need to love and support our English language learners.
I love it. I want to help you with your curriculum with that too. So we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because if there isn't anything out there like that, that could be a game changer.
It needs to be.
So let's talk. Wow.
It could change it.
Ooh, we need you to come back for season 3.
Yeah.
Okay, well now I feel okay with it. I might could do it.
See, that wasn't that bad,
It wasn't
Lisa.
that bad.
Nice.
The girl was so nervous. I'm like, Mom, it's just me. You're having a conversation with your
Right,
child. We do
right.
this literally twice a day.
Right.
Every day.
I love it.
On the way to work and on the way
Yes.
home.
I love it.
Yes.
That's so great.
All right, Mom, you ready for rapid fire? I don't even have the questions with me. I'm just going to go off the top.
Go ahead.
yes.
You're going to have to
How about
answer
you
it.
flip it on Tori? You can do that. Ooh.
Do you have the questions?
No.
I have a bunch. Let's go.
Ready, go.
Where's the computer?
I don't even need them. I'm just going to throw them
Okay.
off the dome.
Go.
Okay.
And you throw some at her too.
Okay.
We'll tag team.
I'll
All
see
right.
if I can answer it before she can answer it.
Okay.
Oh, that's fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
You're going to ask the questions.
I'm going to ask the questions. And
Okay.
we're going now. Sweet or savory?
She's savory. I'm sweet.
Okay. Beyonce is.
Queen.
Yes. Facts.
I wasn't ready for that one. All right. What's your dream car?
Tesla. What the man said earlier, he was like,
Right.
you're trying to get a Tesla.
I love it.
Mine's sitting outside right now.
Olaf, her Jeep. She
I
has a
love
regular.
it. I love it. All right. So one's got to go. Michael Jackson or Bruce Springsteen?
Ooh, Bruce Springsteen. Sorry.
You jumping right in.
Sorry.
Holla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Give me some
no.
more.
I don't feel that.
Let's see. Okay. Favorite city in the U.S.?
Ooh, Asheville, North Carolina.
Asheville, North Carolina.
Really?
Yes.
Y'all share that equally?
Yes, we
Yeah.
go up there
All right.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's our place.
If you could go to one place in the country, in the world, where would it be?
World.
Ooh.
Everywhere.
This girl hasn't traveled like I have, honestly.
Everywhere. I would go everywhere.
I think Spain. I think probably like Alhambra.
I need to go.
We would go
Alhambra.
to
Yeah.
No,
That sounds
you want to do
amazing.
the walk.
Oh, the walk, yeah.
What's it called?
The De Compostela, yeah.
Yeah.
The Santa.
It's like a huge like how we have the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
It's like that. The Camino
But it's like Mecca,
Santiago.
too, that you're going to a religious place, but you walk it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's something we've always wanted to
Sounds
do.
far, but
It
that
is.
sounds, it
It's
sounds
a
cool.
long way.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, thank you for coming on the show.
you.
This is so
I
good.
enjoyed it so
We'll bring
much.
you back for
Thank you
sure.
so much.
I feel like we're just getting started, especially when it comes to your heart for the kids. I want to hear some more stories, some more practical things that our guests. Yeah. We
Yeah.
need you at least once a season. Tori,
Yeah,
make it
I
happen.
agree.
Make it
I
happen.
really want to get in more into Esau world later.
Yep.
Like, I feel like we really didn't even touch that. We didn't touch middle school at all.
Oh, middle school.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's a lot we still
We're
have
just
to
getting-
hit with
this
mom.
was just the introduction.
Yeah. So now you guys have all met my mommy now.
Yes, I
I'm
love
so
it.
excited.
This is
I've been
good.
waiting for this one for a really long
Yep,
time. It's
this
really
is
been
good.
this made me happy.
Thank you.
What a way
It's
to
good
end
to
this
be
season.
here.
Yeah.
And we'll be back, so don't worry about it. We're not going nowhere.
Yep.
We're going to get some more amazing guests and keep on coming back to add more value to you.
Yep.
Now,
right.
if y'all could do us a favor, leave us a
Five stars.
review.
5.
Yeah, just go in, let us know how we doing. Send some questions our way, some things we can tweak and change. We want to take this podcast to the next level to add the most value to you. Do that for us, and we'll see you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Peace.